Hey everyone, welcome to The Seven Eighths, a podcast to share stories on failures and rejections. There may not be any fairy tale endings in this podcast. My guests aren't past the mountain of struggle. In fact, some of them might still be in it. I hope this podcast serves as a forum for friends and acquaintances to exchange tales of defeat that make the 7/8 part of our lives. You know, like the part of the iceberg that you can see. By sharing these stories, I hope we can all normalize failures and hence win over that fear of defeat. Because failing is just a part of living. I hope you will relate. Do leave me a note of feedback, and critique is welcome as well. You can find me on Twitter at FemNectar. Now, on to our episode. Welcome to episode 13 of The 7/8ths. In this episode, I had the pleasure of hosting Mona Sampath Khan for a conversation. Mona Khan's name is synonymous with Bollywood in San Francisco Bay Area. She's the founder of Mona Khan Company, a Bollywood dance and fitness company. She runs over 100 dance and fitness programs along with her team. Mona is highly trained in both Indian classical dance form, the Bharathnatyam, as well as a variety of Bollywood dance forms. Being highly talented, she was frequently handpicked to work with leading Bollywood choreographers like Farah Khan, Bosco Ceasar, and Ganesh Hegde. She has also collaborated on high-profile events with stars such as Shaan, Alisha Chinai, Sunidhi Chauhan, Kunal Ganjawala, and the maestro himself, A.R.Rahman. After moving to the US, her quest to spread the universal language of dance led her to create the first structured Bollywood dance program for the Indian Community Center in San Francisco. She designed and choreographed spectacular dance sequences for several high-profile shows, including the hit TV show America's Got Talent, the NBA halftime shows, President Obama's Indiaspora Inaugural Ball, and Oprah's The Life You Want weekend. To see her in action is to witness something spectacular and unforgettable. From Bombay to the Bay Area, her journey is nothing less than awe-inspiring. But her story is much more than what the media writes about. In our episode together, she talked about her struggles, trying to fit in, giving up a highly successful career in dancing to escape a toxic work environment, rebuilding her brand, and much more. Let's listen in. How are you?
Good. It's a bit early for me, like I said, but doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. Given how 2020 has been, I'm just grateful for everything that I have and actually grateful for the things that I don't have to. So it's a good place to be.
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, I'm happy that we're into 2021 now, and just hoping that 2021 is a much better year for people personally and professionally.
You are a brand and you are a completely self-made brand. You created this years of work and focus and struggles going into the brand. Was choreography, dance, and let's not forget even fitness, right? You have a brand for Bombay Jam. How did this all begin?
First of all, thank you. I am very, very flattered, but where I am and who I am and what I am today is a product of many, many people and their love for what they do. So I have a lot of people to thank. Coming back to your question, grew up in Bombay, in India. Both my parents just loved music, and my older brother and me were exposed to different genres of music. I did Bharathnatyam for a good 9 years, and I think after that I started seeking for something else. 1988, when the movie Tezag came out.
Yeah.
and the song Ek Do Teen was in that movie. And I had not seen that kind of choreography, that kind of movement, the number of styles that were there in that one song. Probably saw it, I don't know how many times, and I learned every move. I had every move that. I think it was the Ganesh Chaturthi festival, and I decided to go and do a solo and dance to Ek Do Teen. And so I did that, and then word spread, and then I started getting invited to many events when I was 10 to perform. That song, I truly believe, started my love story with Bollywood music and dance. When I danced on stage, I think I danced for myself more than anybody else. I think I felt so amazing. I felt so free. I felt so happy. And I think that feeling of being acknowledged and that feeling of being loved, because I would get a lot of applause. It was a feeling that I had not felt before. I think my biggest challenge was I was always very different. And when you're different, people look at it as there's something off or there's something wrong with you. And so for me, I think growing up, I was always super tomboyish. My name was Sridevi Sampath, which did not vibe with me at all. It was messing with my head so badly. So the interesting thing was that at home, I never felt different. But the minute I stepped outside, it was difficult. It was difficult growing up in that environment.
It was a struggle, and quite frankly, like meeting you, I would have never thought that you had such a struggle growing up. Feeling of not fitting in as a child can be quite a struggle because it's not computing. You don't understand why you are not like the rest of the girls. You don't understand why your preferences are. That's a lot to carry.
Yeah, I couldn't, and here I was, dancing in a dress, but I felt great, and I think that feeling was what motivated me to just continue to dance, because that feeling was something I wanted to hold on to. It was a feeling I had not felt before, and I didn't want to lose it. And so from there, I started expanding my dance vocabulary. So I started getting into learning more of jazz, hip hop, but it was all self-taught. Through dance, I was able to connect to people regardless of their age group.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved that, and I knew then that I'd always have dance in my life in some form. I had no idea I would be starting a dance company or any of. I knew I would definitely have a lifelong association with dance, at least as a teacher. I started dancing professionally with a bunch of Bollywood choreographers. Bosco Ceasar, Farah Khan, Geeta Kapoor, and I started to tour a lot, see for different countries, travel, performing with all the Indian pop stars like Shweta Shetty, Shaan. So I was really living the life. That's where I got a lot of my Bollywood experience. And then I think after about 5 years into the industry, found myself struggling a lot. And the more I thought about it, I figured that as much as I loved performing and as much as I loved the adrenaline of being part of these big shows, I wasn't very comfortable with the environment that we were constantly surrounded by. And the lack of respect for people's time and talent, and the grave disparity in the way people spoke to each other based on their certain position. People going on power trips, sense of people's sense of entitlement. It was just so toxic, and it wasn't for me anymore. And for me, it was taking away from why I really wanted to be a dancer. To me, dance was it was almost sacred, and I wanted to give it my best all the time. It was something that I loved so much, and so I was becoming this mediocre, bitter performer, and it wasn't settling well with me at all. And I knew if I was in India, it would never be a break, because I knew I would get sucked in. And so the only way I had to escape was to leave the country. And I'm like, I can't get out of here. So I decided I'm going to go and get my MBA degree. It was a very, very, very hard decision. I mean, to just leave everything, not know anyone. I landed in Philadelphia in the middle of the winter. I'm somebody who's born and raised in Bombay. Never seen snow in my life. And I landed here when I was 21. I landed in Philadelphia for my MBA right in the middle of winter. I was homesick. I was miserable. It was not a good time to be not in the studio, to not create choreography, to not dance. But I had to keep reminding myself whenever I hit the lows of why did I make this decision.
Did you start dancing during your MBA? Or was it too close to what you had just left that you couldn't get yourself back into a studio?
I didn't have much time.
Yeah.
Kind of like literally I was just like going with the flow. So I was like, just got done with the MBA, decided to come to the Bay. I was starting to feel again this feeling of something was brewing inside me, and then I realized that I was ready to get back into dance. The India Community Center was starting up. They were looking for somebody to start their Bollywood dance and Bollywood aerobics program.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's being at the right place at the right time, whether it was the energy that I was putting out into the universe, saying I'm ready to dance again, here I am. The founders of ICC had heard about me, and they contacted me to come in for a meeting. They wanted me to come on full time. This is an opportunity to create a Bollywood dance program. What does that even mean? Right?
Yeah.
There was no playbook. When I started, I literally didn't know where this was going. So I just
creating the syllabus basically.
I literally created like the syllabus from just trial and error, trying different things, observing people. It was just, when I look back, it was one of the best periods of my life, because it was fun. It was fun creating it. The classes were exploding. The membership was rising, which means I needed more instructors.
Yeah.
And so finding those kind of people with the same value system that I had or that I wanted was hard. It took a while. I started, started with one person, then the second person, then within the first year that I joined the ICC full time, I think I had about 3 or 4 instructors. And then the tricky part comes about after a few years at ICC, when I'm like, I wanted to do something bigger than, I wouldn't say bigger, I wanted to do something more different. I wanted to immerse myself more in the artistic side of things versus
admin side of things.
And so I started my first dance company called Nach. And we ran Nach till 2009. And then we dissolved Nach. And then in 2009 is when we started the Mona Khan company with a lot of debt. But what was interesting was I had people, all women team. We were ready to hustle. Yeah, hit the ground running. We were like, let's do this. So our first show was with Farah Khan at the Fairmont Hotel. Shortly after that, we did a few NBA halftime shows. And then in 2010, we did America's Got Talent.
Sounds like a fairy tale, but it's not, because you start MKC with no money and literally run on goodwill with friends and almost family at that point. And then to go and try to create a space and name for yourself whereby you get the attention of the company that's organizing Shah Rukh Khan's tour, you hustle your way into NBA. I mean, what were the rejections that you had to go through to get to that acceptance?
Right. So when I started the Mona Khan company, there was no money because of some bad decisions that we made. But nobody can erase the work that was already done. I was doing the work since 2003. I was hustling since 2003. When we had to dissolve Nach again, there was so much love, so much passion put into Nach, and we built it very good. Nach was a household name. I mean, it was a huge brand at that point too. We did a great job with our branding. We did a great job with the quality. To dissolve it was heartbreaking. It was not easy. But the thing is that you have to know when it's time to let go and when you need to, and you have to be very clear why you're letting it go. Because you want to go somewhere else and this is not serving that purpose, right? I wanted to do more collaborations. I wanted to do more path-breaking work. We wanted to do more community-based collaborations. And there was something that was blocking that. And I said, okay, if that means hustling a little bit more, so be it. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
I mean,
and that's what you have to give. The hustle is all you have to give. So Shah Rukh Khan happened. The NBA halftimes happened. And then there was America's Got Talent. Talk to me about America's Got Talent.
I'll always start with the good things and then we'll go into the uncomfortable things. So it was great. Again, interesting thing in America's Got Talent is I wasn't very gung-ho about going in for it at all. I was too skeptical. We were just expanding in the Bay Area. We were growing like wildfire with MKC. This was 2010 and we had just launched a year before. If you go for America's Got Talent, we got to be on the road.
Yes.
And at that point, most of our dancers are also instructors. So I'm thinking of all of these possibilities, right? Who's going to take care of the classes? What are students going to do? If our instructors are all, dancing in America's Got Talent, who's going to run the show here? My two voices of reason and who keep me grounded, Amrita and Chitra, we should try it. And they were like, don't worry, we'll figure it out. At the end of the day, it's logistics. We got through round one, we went to LA, Vegas, LA again. So 3 or 4 rounds of America's Got Talent before we got to the top 48. It was fantastic. But it's also exhausting. You have to be so present because you don't get too much time to prepare between each round. While we were on the road, we had to figure out the academy, all the logistics, staffing. So this doesn't stop while we are performing there. It was crazy. We get to the top 48 and then we don't make it beyond that. I took it as very personally because I am the artistic director. I said maybe I should have picked another song. Maybe I should have, spent more time. Should have let go of some of my responsibilities in the Bay and focused more on this. There were just a lot of maybes. Beating myself down for it for several weeks. And I was very, very low and I felt like I had let the team down. And I was just questioning myself so much. Yeah, I think I wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
Myself. I wanted it so bad for the team. I think seeing how dejected the dancers were or how disappointed they were.
Yeah.
I think hurt me even more. Yeah, I was very, very embarrassed. I didn't want to. I literally didn't know. I don't think I met anybody except my close inner circle. I don't think I met anybody for like a month after America's Got Talent. I was so embarrassed.
Oh my God.
I was so dejected. I was like, people are just gonna, yeah, literally, just gonna, like, you are not legit at all. You're like this.
Oh my God. Mona. For someone like me, it was incredible to see a small dance company with a very specific style that, people have just seen in movies, make it to America's Got Talent and actually come on the show. That itself was such a great win. So in spite of all that, you went into a really lonely place, right? A place of dejection. How did you get out of it? What helped you get through it?
People wanted to talk to us about the experience at America's Got Talent, and we started talking about how we had put Bollywood on this national stage, and I think it made me realize that we had opened the doors for other South Asian dance companies. The second thing that really changed for me is that really made the shift was when I got back to the studio and I saw the dancers.
Yeah.
Because the amount of training and the grueling hours of rehearsal that we had for America's Got Talent in each round, these dancers had grown by leaps and bounds. And how great we did. And, we got to the top 40 out of 70,000 teams. Immediately after that, we got invited to Miami. We got invited to Cleveland because of our performance on AGT. Wow. And the most important thing, we got a chance to perform at the Indiaspora inaugural ball for President Obama.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, so to answer your question, it's sometimes you just have to take time for it to let it pass through you, and then you actually see all the positives.
I want to talk about something that happened more recently with you coming out. Share with me your journey and what you had to endure, and then where you found your courage to come out and finally allow yourself to be who you are.
In 2012, I reached a stage of burnout from years of hustling in insane hours. I think I was just very, very depressed. I had all these dark thoughts in my head, and it was just not a good place. So went for therapy, and then I went to a psychiatrist also at that time. So I was doing a lot of work parallelly. As I went to therapy, I started figuring that I was carrying a lot of baggage from my childhood, and I was also diagnosed with depression. So I was put on medication at that point. Yeah, I am still on anxiety and depression meds. Even at this point.
I want to pause there and say thank you for actually openly sharing. Some of us may be depressed and we don't even know it. We don't seek out help because there is stigma associated with it. So that's why I say thank you for actually coming out and saying it, because when we hear people like you who are known, outside, you seem like a great success, you seem like you have everything together, you seem like one accolades after the other, and for you to come out and say, yeah, all that is just what you see on the outside, it's the 1/8 part of the iceberg. I am struggling and I am on medication. Trust me, this is not easy. Is strangely reassuring. Is strangely giving hope for people who will listen to this and say, you know what? I'm not alone in this. So that's why I say thank you for coming out and saying that.
There is no greater strength than being vulnerable. I have to address all these experiences or these memories or this baggage that I'm carrying. I have to address them.
Yeah.
Because it's blocking me from connecting with myself.
Yeah.
So I immersed myself more into yoga and I started meditating.
Mm-hmm.
And it like a lot of soul searching. I just had to go in and find myself. Mm-hmm. And in that process, I realized my gender preference. To come out was not hard because I knew this is me. I'd already done the work. But doing the work till I could vocalize to myself, hey, this is your gender preference. That work was hard. Till, the first time I told my parents, I was sobbing. I was crying because I think I felt so free and so liberated. So the thing is that doing this work is painful to keep talking about experiences that you don't want to ever think about and to keep bringing that up. Not easy. And I know I'm doing it myself. I've done it for so many years and I continue to do it. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. But what comes out on the other side is just unimaginable.
What are you excited for? Where from here? Where next? What are you looking forward to?
Well, first of all, I'm looking forward to being back in the studio. For me, I think just sort of continuing to live this authentic life, continuing to evolve so I can give more to the community through dance, through the company. I want to do more path-breaking work. I want to do more community work. There's so much to be done. There's so many causes. There's so many places where you can make an impact.
Yeah, this was a really, really nice conversation. Thank you so much. I mean, some of the things that you said that kind of resonated really deeply with me was, you said, sometimes you just have to let it go. You need to know why you're letting it go, but just let it go. That was very insightful. Another thing that you said where you said you have to feel that emotion, let it pass through you, right? Wedge. If you have to wedge, it's okay. Just wedge it. It gave me permission to wedge, right?
You have to allow, because when you give yourself permission to grieve, that's the start of your healing process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't allow yourself that permission, you are actually doing a disservice to yourself.
Yeah.
You're not being kind to yourself.
Behind all the success and the accolades, like you said, you are another human being just like everyone else, and you have struggles and rejections and setbacks that you have to go through and process just like everyone else. So thank you for sharing your story.
My pleasure, and great chatting with you, and thank you for having me on this podcast. And I know it took us a while, but I'm glad we did.
I'm glad we were able to get it in. So my best wishes to Mona Khan as well as Bombay Jam. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amrita.
And that's how the cookie crumbles. Mona reminded me that behind all the glitz and glamour, there is incredible amount of hard work, pain, and struggles. She taught me the mantra to just let it go. Remember why you're letting it go, but believe in yourself and let it go. Mona talked about how she was incredibly hard on herself on a perceived failure at America's Got Talent. But by taking a step back, she was able to pause, look around, and realize how much she's accomplished even through that failure. taking that perspective would indeed be helpful in difficult times. I'd also like to thank Mona for sharing candidly that she has been seeking and taking help in the form of therapy and more. She disarmed me by pointing out that all of us need help at some point, and that there is no shame in admitting it and reaching out for help. Thank you for listening to this episode. Do share your thoughts. I am on Twitter @FemNectar. Until the next conversation. Cheers, guys.